both virtually and in person. The Cemetery Committee is conducting this meeting December 6, 2023 at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Zoom platform and in person, and in accordance with the town's policy, directive, and guidelines issued on April 1st, 2020, and amended on May 7th, 2022. If you are recognized, please state your name and address. This meeting is being recorded. I, Rod Rydell, hereby call this meeting to order. All committee votes will be taken by a roll call. We will start with an attendance roll call of committee members. When I announce your name, please reply. Brian Davidson.
Here.
Jerry Susi.
Here.
Jeff Walton.
Here.
Priscilla Sturgis.
Here.
Rod Rydell. Here. Okay, that takes us to the deed signing. We've done the deed signing.
I've done 60. 60. That's you.
60?
6 deeds.
Oh, 60.
You don't remember, it's 60.
My goodness. Okay. Our next proposed cemetery committee meeting will be on the first Wednesday of the new year, January 3rd. Is that acceptable to all the members? Okay, that's good. Then we have, we were going to do, the annual calendar review, but could I change the order, Justine, and just do our approval of minutes from November 1st?
Aaron?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Change that. Okay.
So we'll just do the approval of minutes. We have circulated the minutes from our November 1st meeting. Are there any changes, amendments, edits to the minutes? No. In that case, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So approve them.
Second. Oh, second?
Second.
Okay, second. Roll call. Jerry?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Priscilla?
Hi.
Rod? Aye. So 4 out of 4. Minutes?
So Brian will stay.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So now we'll go to the annual calendar review, and this was a topic that was broached at the previous meeting. Aaron has taken the lead in proposing an agenda for sort of standing topics that we will be reviewing each month of a calendar year for the committee to try and standardize some of the administrative and operating elements of our committee. Aaron, turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you. So this provided a kind of a brief calendar in standard format, similar to the Public Works Commission. A monthly calendar that lists the month, the location of the meeting, obviously in this room, and via Zoom for now, and just the agenda items, that we might cover. They're obviously subject to change, and we'll update that as the year goes on. But just so everyone has kind of an idea of what to kind of expect that will be reviewed. Kind of a first draft, just based on the comments of the previous meeting, as Rod mentioned. So doesn't mean this would be the only things that will be covered at each meeting. It doesn't mean that's the only month that topic will be covered, but we want to make sure that those items were covered. In some of the things like columbarium might be updated more frequently as needed by the subcommittee. Same with maybe the mausoleum as the construction goes on for next year. But things like we want to make sure we target discussing budget and finance in April, so there's plenty of time for this group to talk and me to kind of give an overview of the budget, where it stands. The group to provide some input as they prepare a budget for the following season, kind of over the summertime, and then budgets are usually due sometime in August or September. We want to make sure there's plenty of time to kind of have a discussion in April, maybe a follow-up in May if needed. If we're going to look at rates every year, which we should, and review those, and then provide an opportunity for a rate hearing. Should we need to change the rates similar to other rates in town, as obviously costs go up and expenses go up. We need to make sure that the rates are adjusted accordingly. An opportunity for the group to it's kind of states that no meetings in the summertime is kind of been a past practice. And then after that, kind of a master plan review following the break after the summer, after we've appointed some, the new positions, and right after the following town meeting. It times up with kind of CPC letters of support if needed for any projects. that are due, to the CPC usually in November. And then in November, we could also give a update of headstone restoration. A lot of that work is done over the summertime, spring season. And kind of give a wrap up as that construction work is kind of winding down. And you notice there's a couple of kind of open areas just because we don't have things to fill in, but doesn't mean that, those will be populated, obviously. For those who've been on the committee for a while, have been tuning in, we have a variety of topics that come up every month. Those are listed on our monthly agendas and calendars. So these are the kind of just like standing items that we would see as topics. This goes in line with, the Public Works Commission, which the Public Works Department participates in, where there are standing topics for that committee. For anybody who's tuned in those meetings that we discuss annually, such as winter maintenance programs or road hearings and things like that.
So I actually had one addition to request, and that is in this category of CPC grants, to get a review of the progress that was made in the previous year and the plans for the current construction year. So we have the stone wall grant now. We hope we're going to have the grant for the metal structures. Maybe we'll be able in the coming years to get grants from other parties as well. Could we put that in February? Just sort of progress on all grants, anything that's sort of external funding, so that we just report, oh, here's what we got done last year, here's what we still have to do, and this is our plans for the coming construction.
Can have that, absolutely.
Okay, then let's put that in. Okay.
We also talked about doing an annual financial update. The finance review is for the coming year, but I'd also just like to make sure that we, at some point, as we talked about, go back and look at what the cemetery fund itself has and how much it's generating on a regular basis. Because we may just put it right under there, but I want to make sure that because that has been separate in the past.
You bring up a great point. It would be very useful to have in that April meeting almost like a small tutorial where the monies come from that support the cemetery funding each year. Like some come from the cemetery fund. It would be a good example, for example, to review this coming April, how people in the town made the decision. We're going to take $340,000 out of the cemetery fund and match the CPC grant for the stone walls. I just think it would be useful for the committee members to understand how that works. And if there's any other sources of special town funding that it can get applied or does get applied to the cemetery. Okay. So we just have that as a background. And that would be the update each year.
Yeah.
And then we go into the actual funding and the budget for that year. Because I imagine, depending upon the investments that the cemetery fund makes, sometimes there's going to be good years and sometimes it would be not so good years. Unless it's all in, maybe it's in a very low interest money market account.
Those aren't low interest anymore.
Yeah, we in a department level don't get into that level of finance as far as where is the money invested in.
Yeah, no, I know.
So
I'm just
I would
wondering
have
if we need.
I would need, and my plan would be that if in April we're providing that information, that I have advance time to, have time in advance to go to finance into the accounting to be able to supply us with those.
We could always invite the person who manages the cemetery fund to come here. I mean, you won't have to put the burden on you.
Well, they
I
manage,
mean, it's an option.
Well, but
they manage like 30 or so funds, right?
That's all right.
The cemetery fund, this perpetual fund is one of several kind of funds that they manage it collectively. Is that my understanding?
yeah, I would say as far as managing the funds on that level, yes, it's like the finance department. And we have a chief financial officer who delegates that to who, I'm not sure exactly who's the one that's actually overseeing the fund. Like I said, we don't get to that level of how it's invested in
Oh, yeah,
that
no,
level
we don't.
detail on it. And honestly, it's like more of like the finance committee,
Sure.
right, purview, or more than kind of well beyond the involvement of what we do as far as the Department of Operations, right? Really, we can provide on a regular basis, like fund balances, how the annual budget for cemetery is funded.
That, I think
Right.
would be great.
That's you know, the revenue that we're getting from lots, perpetual care balances, things of that nature. But as far as like deep diving, you know, how the town invests their money and their bonds, and we don't really get into that.
Okay.
Way beyond public works.
No cemetery bid.
Yeah, no. I mean, and if there's specific things that, like, if you have a specific item you have a question on relative to that, you can, if you want to maybe send me an email that details what that is, and then I can forward it along to accounting and finance department, and they can pull that information for you. I don't want to give a wrong answer and pretend like I'm talking about something that I know about, because that's well beyond what we do.
Yeah, there probably is, because it goes through that, it's under the finance committee. There's probably someone there that could give us a paragraph to update and get to Aaron about how the funds are doing and so on and so forth, because they got to review it. They're supposed to give it to us, I think, somewhere in the plan. It says they're supposed to review annually. So,
So I mean, like current fund balances, I can supply all that information. We can get that relatively easy as far as like how it's invested and how the market's going. That's well beyond. But yeah, perpetual care, the cemetery fund balance, how we budget within the department for cemetery, where the money goes. All that information is available on the department.
Great, well, let's do that. Okay. Are there any other suggestions, questions, additions, subtractions to this annual calendar?
One I thought would maybe just infrastructure, just to have talk a little bit, whether it's roads, whether it's vegetation, whether it's the metal works, stone works. It just seems like it comes up quite a bit through our conversation. It's just one section where we could have maybe infrastructure, whether that's February or December, as we approach the new year, just to kind of have a place where we discuss this. That would be,
Why not? Put it in December.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're not
can
gonna
you
have.
elaborate a little bit on what you mean by like this like beyond like the master plan discussion of topics that folks want to see improvement on, or
Yeah, just what infrastructure things are we working on? What are we thinking on? So like, like we've had the stone walls and that analysis, and then we went to the CPC about it. Now
Yeah.
there's kind of a metal works,
Yeah.
and we're kind of doing that, Before I came on the committee, you were doing a lot of work with the roads and making sure that the roads were
Yeah.
improved.
so all those initiatives were driven through the master plan and projects that we're kind of ticking off based on committee review, committee vote, committee decision. That was, these are the top priorities of the committee, right, for larger projects. That's what kind of has been driven the infrastructure improvements. So maybe as part of the master plan review, I'd recommend that those kind of
Infrastructure.
right there.
great.
Jerry, do you have any comments, questions, additions, subtractions?
Oh, no, I'm fine. Thank you.
So then, Aaron, thanks very much. And Justine, you captured the amendment.
Yep.
The topics. That's great.
Yes, I did. So I'll edit that and I'll send it back out for everybody to review.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much. Then let's move to our discussion and possible action items section of the agenda. Start with the CPW staff report.
So a few things, last month, very busy month, in the cemetery, getting ready for, finish up fall cleanups, getting ready for Veterans Day, which is always busy in the cemetery. Tish and Doug and the team did a great job of getting that ready. For those that don't know, it is every year there's a Veterans Day parade that takes place in the cemetery, along with a flag burning ceremony, flag retirement ceremony where they burn the flags, and well attended every year. There's participants from various committees and groups, number of residents and tenants and staff as well. So those are great events. The Friends of Sleepy Hollow planted 100 bulbs in the Bilstein Garden.
Daffodil bulbs. I should have written daffodil bulbs.
All right, thank you.
Sorry.
In the Garden of Sleepy Hollow, Einstein's the contractor. They finished up their fall cleanup and maintenance. They are also, their contract is also up for the season, so, over the winter, we'll be working at drafting a new, invitation for bid for landscaping maintenance and cemetery, and have to hopefully get that out in the winter and have it, a new contractor, under contract with the town for spring maintenance. As far as burial information, lot sales a month, we had, there were 5 full burials, 3 cremations took place, and 4 single grave lots and 2 cremation lots that were sold. And most exciting news, I'm gonna save the best for last, is that we have, town manager appointed Doug Lennox here, who joins us this evening as a cemetery
meet everyone.
specialist.
Oh,
So
welcome.
this is a
Thank you.
position that yeah, we advocated for last year, to the town manager, and that was added to the budget and funded. And we were able to, kind of advertise the position, and Doug Lennox is actually a park and tree specialist, has been over the town for a little over 8 months now. And, doing a great job. Real excited to have him as part of the team. He expressed some interest to spend, making the transition over to the cemetery specialist position. And excited to announce the appointment and working closely with Tish. He's got a lot of experience working with in the cemetery already. As a division, we have highway, grounds, cemetery, fleet, and the whole team kind of works together as needed for different things. Doug also, prior to coming to the town of Concord, worked in another municipality. We had experience working with cemeteries and funeral operations, extensive background in landscape maintenance and tree maintenance. So lucky to have his skills, and welcome to the cemetery.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
And I'll add, Doug is a native of Concord,
Yes.
so
Born and raised.
yeah, so it's great to have him here, and thanks for joining us this evening. So
Thanks for having me.
absolutely. Tish, do you have anything?
No, I'm very, very happy. Yes.
So for those that don't know and haven't been kind of up to speed, this is the first time we've had a second employee of the just Tish as the cemetery supervisor and that group for a very long time. So it's a welcome addition.
Mhm.
Excited for it. Do you have anything, Justina?
No.
That's all we have.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sure I'm speaking for everyone on the committee. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to working with you and Tish and Justina in the future. We'll see, we have lots of ideas.
Well, actually, I have one more thing. Excuse me. So, man, you want to talk a little bit about the conference you just attended?
Oh, surprise.
Sorry.
So I went to, sorry.
Not putting the spot in the middle of the brief overview of
I
some
know,
of
I
the,
have no time to prepare.
outreach.
Went to a couple days, Doug and I both went out to Sturbridge to the New England Cemetery Association's annual educational seminar. So we're able to hear some interesting speakers. One, Jonathan Appel spoke about headstone restoration, which was nice. And David Ward from Green Room Ward spoke about cemetery expansion, which was something that was very timely, I think, for us to hear. And Doug's obviously pretty new, but got to meet some people and hear some cemetery things. Spoke about what else did we hear about? Laws, legal things happening in the State House, things that may affect us, may not affect us, and branding on. We don't have our logo, but some cemeteries do find that important. I like the town seal personally. We're good. Yeah, it was interesting. Interesting conference.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, then, I think we will then turn it over to our second item, the photo and film application related to the Concord 250th anniversary of the History and Education Subcommittee. And want to thank Beth Van Duzer for coming in today and preparing this information that we've already received in our packet. And ask you, Beth, if you have anything to discuss or request to us, please go right ahead.
No, so this is going to be creating a walking tour through the National Park Service app. So this will be a free tour for people. Visitors are going to come. They're going to want to know where people are buried. This is going to focus specifically on people that fought on April 19th. There's some information somewhere that says they did something on April 19th, because we can't do everybody, not in the National Park Service Act. So there's 30-ish names. I'll have you know that my lists are not set in stone. Today, I just found another gentleman who died during the 8 years of the war. I'm up to 18 people to have on a roll of honor for Memorial Day. I gotta email whoever that is. So I'm constantly finding new people. So just so you know, there may be a couple more. But there are 30 people on this list. There are pictures of their gravestones. If you have not seen the National Park Service app, I mean, it's on a phone, it's tiny. Nobody really cares. I will pull it up if I can figure out how to use my phone. But there's just gonna be a little blurb next to their names, and it'll just say something about who they are, their contribution on April 19th. Might say a little more than that, but it'll have locations in the map. So there are people that are buried in all 3 burial grounds, including Authors Ridge. We have Hosmer's over there. So it's fun.
Curtis also would be great, yes.
Oh, no, I'm on the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
I'm good.
It's okay over here, so.
Oh, is it better over here? I don't know.
Does that mean I get to be on camera? The self-guided tours. If you go to the National Park website, there's like self-guided tours. So there's our phone. And then we can do North Bridge, because there's everything there. And then and Graves. I mean, literally, this is what you get. It's tiny, so the photos won't be, big, but, and then there's just blurbs, but it tells you where they are, right? So that's what this is. And we really like the fact that it's going to be free and anybody can use it. And because it's the National Park Service, they can also record it. So it's accessible to more than just one population. So if you can't see well, and you can't read what all these tombstones say all the time, it'll tell you on the phone, or it can read it. Anything else?
Sounds like a wonderful project. We just want to talk about maybe some of the consequences of this. This is not a judgment on the project, they're not just the consequences. Do you have any, does the committee have any information about when this is done, how much traffic it drives to these sites?
No.
Okay, so just thinking about, is there anything that we should be concerned about? Extra signage telling people to be careful, walking around graves, no rubbing of gravestones, no gravestone rubbings or things like that. I know sometimes people like to do that. We don't want people to do that.
We don't allow it. It's posted at Sleepy Hollow. It's not posted downtown.
So I would say from a department level, the department's been very involved with different aspects of the 250th celebration planning, more relative to public safety, public works, or the kind of incident action plan preparations for the event, the impact it'll have on the town. Kind of looking at it from the perspective that it might add some people. This is something that from an relations level, if we realize we're probably gonna have an influx of people during that time period, we would probably install some additional signage and rules requirements. Maybe end up roping off some areas and directing foot traffic in a specific direction, for that, maybe that month of the event, leading up to some things like that. It's a good point with just to prevent damage and things like that. So we'll be looking at not just with the cemetery site, but also all of our town facilities are kind of in the general downtown area where we expect to see a high influx of visitors to the town for that event period. So try to mitigate any impacts.
Okay, so that's something that the town has addressed.
Yes. I think specifically on this, this brings up some good points for the cemetery. We're early on in our planning process. 56%. So if we're looking at expanding town facilities, how we're going to secure them, make sure there's no damage. I think especially like in this area where it's going to draw, right? It's already it's on the national register. It already receives 1 million visitors a year. The high concentration during that time is spring. We'll make sure it's additional signage or maybe additional, director in traffic, maybe some additional staffing during those times to help, be eyes and ears on the ground and addressing issues that come up. Be things.
And following the anniversary, will this stay on the national parks?
As far as I know, yeah.
Is there any interest in putting it on our own town cemetery website?
If-
I'm just asking, no, for the town. Is there some copyright once it's with the national parks? Okay,
So we could probably put a link.
Yeah.
That would link to the national park.
yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
We've done
Yeah.
that with other things.
Because
Yeah,
we have
With other third party, say their informational pieces or
On the website.
or promotional items which draw people, educate people on the topic of the cemetery. We can add things to our website, which direct people to those-
Yeah.
those sites.
Since I could see the town wanting to do something similar for Civil War records. Other than.
Yeah.
They do have an app for, I think it's Graves of Interest. Is that what it is? There is
Yes.
an app on the
There's a
website
QR code
now.
on it's on our map.
Yeah.
At the gates, there's a QR code. So
Yeah,
there is
so
an
there
app
is
for
an app
Graves of
on the
Interest
gates.
for the more famous of our.
Yeah.
presidents.
Okay. Others?
Not to be, I'm not being facetious here. Is there a plan to have adequate cell phone coverage to utilize an app like this?
Have you attended any meetings lately that talk about cell phone coverage? The high school is what I've heard last. Yeah, they're working on it. That's all they ever tell me. So, yeah.
And I know everybody's working on it, but especially at this time, I mean, people by then are gonna be really looking, if they're coming into town, they're gonna be using their phones to, sightsee around.
I can give you some information, at least the most recent information I heard was that the permits are all set for the Trinitarian Congregational Church. So it's the final negotiation between the Trinitarian Congregational Church and Verizon. And I had asked the question, if that tower gets installed in the steeple of the church, would that cover the high school? And I've not gotten an answer to that question. Haven't gotten an answer. You don't think so?
But, in the past, with individuals have had their headstones taken, if they weren't famous, we kind of were uncomfortable with that. I'm thinking of like the Friends and so here it is, there's individuals, I mean, some of these people, get a lot of press, but then, Abishia Brown, I've never heard of her say, Abishai. So I guess, how do we feel about that? And, are we setting a precedent here where other groups would come in behind them and say, well, you allowed it in this instance, or are we saying that these individuals are so historic that they are well known enough to become a great question?
There are 80, 90 graves total, I think, for the American Revolution, and we're only doing the 30 because they're specific to April 19th. So yeah, we could say, if you wanted on the town website to do every veteran for the American Revolution, you could. I mean, you just have to create more information. But this is specifically only because April 19th is, after April 19th, really, what happened in the American Revolution, if you're from Concord, right? And that's the day everybody focuses on. And the rest, rest of the 8 years, meh. But that's what the national park was said that they would, for this walking tour, that they would have on their little app. We would focus on that.
I think too, I know it's being done through the National Parks app. It's being done by the History and Education Committee for the 250th. So it's being done by a town committee that Beth is on. And I think that the families of these people probably would like that it's being noticed that they were there on that day. 'Cause some of these people wouldn't even know we're there.
Yeah.
Beth has just found they weren't formally even known to be veterans. So I think the families would actually appreciate the information.
Do you have to have a permission of the families? As usual?
That's for you to decide.
You have to have the permission of the cemetery owner, which is this.
Yeah, that's the state law.
The committee is the one who makes the decision on whether or not to allow.
Yeah, I mean,
We posted.
I can guarantee to you that James Barrett's family would be thrilled. I just talked to them the other day. Not about this, but I know them. And they would absolutely love this. Yeah,
So if it's smaller, I mean, technically, we have the authority to do it. Obviously, this is a much bigger ask for just one photo or a smaller publication. That's what we bring it to. We bring these things to the committee for ultimate decision.
Beth, is the committee contacting the descendant families just so that people are aware that their ancestors?
No, because it would be me doing it. I have a total of 520 people so far that served during the 8 years of the war. And this is just one part of the project. And I don't know if there's descendant, and I have a list of people that don't have a grave that well, they're buried here. We just don't know where their
Yeah.
grave are. I mean, I've got a lot of people.
yeah.
So I've not contacted descendants. I wouldn't know where to go for the descendants. to help.
We wouldn't. know.
Yeah.
So,
And there's a few, James Barrett's family,
Yeah.
I can call right now. But other than that, probably not. I'd have to look at the list.
But I just, there's a kind of an inconsistency, a big inconsistency there where other people have been turned down with good intentions and I mean, so I guess I just look at it, for the next group that comes in, is there a way to do the photo? I mean, I guess is there a way to do photos where you can't necessarily, you're saying that it's on
on your screen.
the screen and
Yeah.
small where you don't necessarily see like the personal information
You
of
could
the,
be.
I mean.
I mean, these tombstones are over 200 years old.
Mhm.
I mean,
I'm looking at them now and some of them are.
and
hard
most of
to
the,
read,
a lot of
but-
this is on Find a Grave. So if you go to Find
Yeah.
a Grave, other people have already
Yeah.
posted this.
Yeah.
It's not like this doesn't
Yeah.
exist on the web.
Right.
But we know what the Massachusetts general law is here.
But,
we're
but we
here.
don't approve Find a Grave,
No,
as a
you
committee,
don't.
we don't
You
approve
don't.
Find a
But
Grave,
if
but we
people
would
wanted
be
to find
approving.
them, right, but if people wanted to find them, they would find them.
Yeah,
Right.
and I would also say this, that we would, well, Find a Grave is not an official
No.
website. We do have Cemetery Find, which is our official website. And it lists the graves and the details of the locations and the names and the dates of where everyone's interred.
So
So
if
other
people
than
knew,
just a photo of it, all this information is still on the website. What it just is not the visual photo.
So I guess I would ask then, if the friends were to come back again this time with their game and show a picture of the person's headstone, would you then be okay with it because that information is on our system and people could access?
I think it would depend on what the
different.
use.
This is a
Oh,
different
okay.
topic, Beth.
Okay,
Not-
thank
this
you.
is- This
Okay.
is
It's
a
not-
separate topic,
Okay.
talking about the implications of approving this
Okay.
or something else.
Yeah, I think the use matters. So like, good point is, we do have cemetery find. And if in fact, even if these pictures aren't listed, if there's a list of these names someplace, then there's gonna be people that are looking for them. There's gonna be tens of thousands of people here in April of 2025, and there's gonna be people looking for them. So the pictures might actually help. They can get on their phone and get on cemetery find and still find them. But they're gonna just be roaming around more.
Yeah.
The pictures might actually help.
And
Because it
don't get
will
me
help
wrong,
them to
I
find
love the project,
Yeah.
I love the
No, I
project, I mean,
100%
and
agree.
I'm
I-
100%, as a
I 100%
Concordian and somebody who wants to celebrate these people, I'm 100% on board with the whole plan, it's just, I'm just thinking of the consistency of how we, as a committee, have approached it.
I think
And
it
how,
depends on the use.
and how the people are coming.
I think Tish's point about making it dependent upon use is an important. One could argue, I think pretty effectively, that something associated with a historical event, marking that event, is more listable than a theme that's associated with sort of a fundraising celebration.
Mhm.
So
Case by case.
we reserve the right to be inconsistent.
Correct.
Right, and no,
Right.
basically,
Right.
no,
Oh, yeah.
no, and basically driven by the circumstances.
Right.
of the event.
Right.
Any other questions, any comments?
Looks like Jerry has a comment.
Oh, Jerry, please.
Yeah, hi, thanks. While this conversation was going on, I just did kind of a quick lookup. I am not a lawyer. But General Laws, Part 1, Title 16, Chapter 114, Section 42B. No person shall use the premises of a cemetery or burial place for the purpose of taking photographs or making a motion picture for commercial purposes without the previous consent of the Board of Commissioners, trustees, or directors of such a cemetery. So, we're within our authority to kind of say yes or no. And the only thing that's spelled out so far that I found is commercial purposes. And this doesn't sound like a commercial purpose.
I think it might say
Yeah.
at the end of that something about any other use than private.
Yeah, I would.
It's the state law. It's quoted actually at the top of our filming application. Yeah, that's it.
So we have a standard film. Was this in the packet?
Yes. Yeah.
In the packet, you would have that similar language.
Beautiful. It's $1,000 fine.
Exactly.
Yes.
He always says it's on it.
The governmental, certainly not.
So I would say that the reason it's for this committee is because the staff reviewed the application and we determined it's appropriate for this committee to then decide and make a vote. That it's not private, and so anything that's not for private use, we have the applicants fill out the application and they'll come to us. If we feel like we can approve it within our authority, we will. For ones that are going to be, like I said earlier, more public, get more. Obviously, it's not just one photo. It's going to go on application. It's going to go out to those masses. It's obviously something that's part of the 250th celebrations committee, the subcommittee. That's why it's here before the group.
Okay,
So I would say that I would recommend that we don't call it, oh, they don't need, non-commercial because they don't need a permit. They can still, I would say the group needs to make a decision on it, either to allow it or to not allow it.
Now, I'm just trying to understand and I think I do now. Thank you. So if it were for commercial use, it's absolutely prohibited unless we gave permission.
Yeah, and I would say anything other than private use is considered commercial use. Like town use is commercial use essentially.
Okay.
The way that I interpret it, with the way that we practice the application and our processes. If I, as an individual, took a picture of a headstone and had it in my own, private social media, that's not for public use. That's for private use. Obviously, this is an entity other than just an individual. It's a group. It's a municipality. Be a filming company that's going to publish this on, the internet, on TV, etc. That's commercial uses. I would interpret it.
Well, private, non-private.
Right.
That's what it's-
I was gonna say, if it's not commercial, then it isn't.
Yeah. So the town, like if the town staff is not going to take photos of headstones and put it on our town website, unless we feel we do, go through the same type of vetting process. So.
Okay. Any other topics, questions, concerns? Praise.
I actually have a question. If Beth were to want to continue to add images or stones, would she have to come back here every time?
She would need to fill out a new application, and
Every time there'd be an addition?
Find another one.
if there's going to be another photo, another headstone, it's going to be she'll fill out another application. Then on a staff level, we could either say, if this is part of an application that the committee are approved, we'll feel comfortable approving it. We might do that. If it's a lot of them or something that doesn't really fall within that clean category, we might bring it to the committee to approve. So yes, an additional application will be required. So this committee would be voting, if you wish to do so, voting and approving or not approving of the application as a whole.
Oh,
Nothing additional. There's not like a sunset of, hey, if you want to add 10 more photos, it's fine. It's not. It's what's here. It's on the board right now. It's what's approved. If more we want in a subsequent application.
Point of information, Beth. No matter how many gravestones you have, when do you anticipate having the app operational specifically for this one point? that we could take a look and see how these gravestones cluster in the various burying grounds. For planning for the town to make a decision about whether they need to restrict access or guide it. So if everything, all of a sudden everything's clustered on the steep part of the old burying hill, for example.
Oh, they already know where the stones are. I mean, 'cause there's a map, right? You already know where they are. Some of them are on the steep part. But so I have to write up all the information.
You've already answered my question. We can build this map ourselves.
Yes, oh, yes, yeah, we have all the data.
Okay, then maybe what we should do at some point when we have the final list of your gravestones, just to facilitate the town's decision of, whether or not. I mean, it's one thing if they're all dispersed very evenly throughout the entire, cemetery. It's another thing if they're all clustered in this section. So, and I'm sure that there's some dispersal and some clusters. That's sort of the way things work. And, understanding what the traffic conditions would be in those areas, landscape, trees, gravel, that sort of thing. Okay, great. Well, then, can I have a motion for the committee to approve this application for a limited permit?
I'll make an approval to accept the photo film application from Concord 250th History and Education Subcommittee.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call, Priscilla,
Hi.
Jerry,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Brian, Rod, aye, unanimous. Thank you very much, Beth.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very exciting.
And Beth, you're certainly.
Thanks for
welcome to
taking the
stay.
time.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Everything is gonna be so much better than last night, and I'm sure. And I mentioned my photo.
Okay, that brings us up to item D3, a discussion of the potential revisions, additions to master plan section 1. Wants to take the lead. Start things.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about comments, I guess, or thoughts that I had on it. And I may not necessarily go in order, but go with low hanging fruit. So, the non-traditional graves mausoleum, 1.3.3. So, I mean, I think we could remove this one from, the master plan per se, because we've had the site plans approved, we've had the rules established, the prices set, and have in fact sold. There isn't a lot of work to be done. Other than the mausoleum.
Oh, sorry.
Are you removing that one? I think I've kind of accomplished that.
Yeah,
Sorry. So then maybe going back up the list to the columbarium. So, we can obviously keep this one on because we don't have a columbarium built, but, current status is, we've had a subcommittee established, preliminary site identified, and we're in the process of conducting kind of a landscaping plan for how the overall site would look. And then once we have that established, we'll dig a little bit deeper into how the columbarium itself will actually look at the site. So, I don't know, Rod, how detailed you want, like specific language here, or just in general?
Well, look, my suggestion is that, and again, trying to avoid having us form a specific subcommittee. Do this. I'd like to be able to do it under the structure of it. So Justine, if I asked Brian to send me as an action item from this meeting, his recommended edits, and I incorporate them without talking to Brian and mark them as his potential edits in a marked up version of the master plan. And then we keep that going along and take everyone's edits. And then we have a meeting which either accepts or rejects the markups. Have we violated any subcommittee rules? I actually don't think we have.
I don't believe so.
No, I don't think so. So I'm happy to, I used to do documents all the time for the FDA, so it's no big deal to take multiple authors, pull them all in, and mark them as these are the suggested changes from Brian or from Priscilla or from Jerry. And I'll be happy to do that and collate it each month as we go along, and either I can forward, an ongoing basis,
Yeah.
here are the changes, or we can wait until the very end and then we can have one big review session. So it's entirely up to the committee on how we proceed. But I'm happy to do the secretarial and administrative work. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, and I know, because I think that Jerry also has some ideas as well. So I don't know if are you planning on so you're gonna have everybody just send their comments to you regarding the supply, and then you would just incorporate all of that?
I could incorporate, unless there are things like today where Brian said, let's remove 1.3.3 non-traditional graves, and everyone said, that's good. And we can say everyone agreed and it's out.
Yeah.
Right, so we mark that as, a confirmed deletion. But if there may be sections where we have alternative texts that we want to reconcile as a committee. That's it. But I'm happy to put them all in. And then we can track them, in terms of the person that made the suggested edits. People can send them to me. That's fine.
I think it makes sense.
I think if you say them out here in a public meeting and then they forward them afterwards, I think that's fine.
Then let's proceed, Brian. Why don't you finish your comments about section 1?
So after the fact.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so that's, so the current status, I guess, so as I just described, that's kind of the current status, and the goal, propose that the columbarium be established. Would be the goal, and happy to yield the floor on 1.3.2 if other people want to comment, or if you want me to go through all my comments.
Well, let's see if there's any other comments from 1.3.2.
Wait, what?
It's the columbarium, Jerry, 1.3.2. Do you have any comments on the columbarium?
Yeah, actually, and Justine just mentioned, I went through section 1 and did a copy paste and have some suggested edits. And I sent that along to Justine prior to the meeting. So, I could either go through it or just, Rob, take it as you invited.
We'll do both. I think it's important for you to at least discuss, even in a general sense, for changes to be made. So,
all right. Just with regards to columbarium, or going through the
maybe
all
we
of
should
the
just let
sections.
Brian go through everything that he suggested that we amend, and then we go to the different reviewers and let each person go through their sections. Okay.
Okay. So then the other ones start to get a little bit more, I guess, but the 60+ year availability, add that to our annual agenda, which we have incorporated. And that, I guess not necessarily a comment, but just a thoughts was, obviously that we should start thinking about, long range future, for the cemetery spaces, places in town that may be good for cemeteries in 60 years, 100 years from now. Obviously, there's the farmland that the town owns that's adjacent to current Sleepy Hollow Knoll section, about 20 acres there type of thing. But I noticed with going through the envisioned long range plan, cemetery really is discussed. The cemetery spaces, it's discussed quite a bit, although other items, land uses are discussed. So that maybe internally we should try and start putting together a list of potential town properties that may be of interest to the cemetery staff or cemetery folks that, as we move forward, or as the town moves forward, as discussions of those properties come to be, that we could raise our hand and say we have an interest in those as well. But that's just me just thinking out loud, not necessarily something for a master plan action item. I think it could be a much more generic term for it type of thing. So I guess I would keep 1.1 and add it to the agenda, which we did, and start kind of a running list of potential town properties that the cemetery committee would have an interest in. 1.2, I guess the Vesper Circle, additional space. I don't know, I guess I would probably throw that maybe more over to the town folks and how they want to redesign that and think about that. But obviously, that's the little circle that you hate, Tish, right? That it's hard to plow. Is that the Vesper Circle? Or am I
It's all hard to.
It's all hard to plow. And that Tish would like to kind of make it, take out the
It
hard
was-
surface.
It's a road that was removed already.
Was a road that was
Yeah.
moved already, so. I guess, kind of put that on the plan, to add 39 spots. I think that sounds pretty good. I would just kind of leave that as a goal. And then 1.3.1, our scattering garden. I think we have established a scattering garden, right?
No, we had a plan for one,
A plan for one. There's a space designated for it, or
a space that was thought to be designated.
thought to be designated,
Yeah.
but no, that hasn't.
Hasn't been, no, and isn't, without a lot of drainage work, isn't it? The circle across from the Melvin that's wooded. That is a scattering garden design. Somewhere in your office, maybe, for that. Would take a lot of work to make it a usable space.
Is there a demand for it? I mean,
No.
people, we've had conversations where it's just people haven't been that interested. And of course, maybe if
They
it
haven't
wasn't
been
existed,
interested in it. The one that was planned, the design that we did, had a pathway going through it and had shared memorials. So basically a large stone with a list of names. So your name would be on it, your name would be on it. If you planned ahead, you could put your spouse's name next to yours. If you didn't, they'd be 5 people down. Who knows? And you'd be interred someplace near it. People didn't love it.
Mhm.
Now, memorials are very important to the people that buy a coffin. And the fact that they can personalize them and you wouldn't have that opportunity.
Mhm.
So, people didn't love the idea. We did a design. Auburn was doing them, so we felt we needed to. It does maximize use. You can get a lot of people in a small area.
Right.
But it wasn't something that anybody had any interest in actually doing. And that area would need a lot of drainage work. There's drains that drain into it. It's not a great area without a lot of work.
So scattering garden is different from the popular green burial thing that's going on.
Scattering gardens for cremation only.
Right. So 2 different things.
Well, maybe we will entertain, when we get all of the comments, maybe we should entertain deleting. I mean, we should be responsive to the community. The community doesn't want
There
it.
isn't a demand for it.
Yeah, I might also, I have just like a couple, just 2 quick comments, from it. It might be helpful for us, maybe for the next meeting or a future meeting, where we could supply the cemetery committee with definitions of different types of interments. And because there's a lot of different terminology out there. We're learning about it all the time, actually. And so we could do that. I also would recommend that we can provide the committee with some mapping, some overlays. I think a visual reference of where our property lines actually are would be very helpful to the group. Especially where his comments of looking at additional land. The wooded area to the northwest of the cemetery office is actually all cemetery land. It just hasn't been cleared. And the grassy area to the south of that is all cemetery land that hasn't been laid out lots of. So we do have quite a bit of space and might be a good visual reference too as part of this process. Provide some of those things. And we can help that, prep some of those documents and send that off to the group.
Yeah, so that I think, keep it as a kind of a to-do item, maybe. Which was one thing I was gonna add on is, these non-traditional, green burials, the hydro, I don't know the right terminology, but it's like hydro kinetics or something like that, turning yourself into a tree bulb to be planted somewhere, those type of things. So I think adding a section here to the supply about, either staying abreast or thinking about future burial options and how that will impact, I think of our conversations about Sleepy Hollow and where to put trees, and it's difficult, right? Because we don't necessarily own the property to put a tree, so that, maybe somebody someday wants to be a tree and come up with potential places to put those people, that type of thing. So I don't know how to articulate well a new section that would cover that kind of thing, but that would be my one addition to the supply area.
Okay, so if you can just add some text to that, sure. Email that to. Should we do it as a process? Send it all to you, Justine, and then you'll email it to me?
Why don't we
Okay.
do that?
All right,
Yep,
we'll
I'll
do that.
compile it and I'll send it as one
Okay,
doc.
great. That's great.
Thank you.
I think that's best to,
Yeah, let's just keep a
that way,
record.
yeah.
That way nothing gets lost.
yeah, no, we have,
We have a record
we have
of it.
drives and we can store all the data in case something happens to it.
Yep.
All the information.
Great.
Well, thank you, Ron. That's all the comments I have.
Thank you, Brian.
But I apologize, I have to excuse myself from the meeting. I have to go to the 250th Executive Committee meeting in Arlington this evening as well. So I need to head out, but,
All right,
if
thank you.
I need anything, feel free to send me an email afterwards and I'll follow up with them.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much as well. Appreciate it.
And Aaron, before you go,
Yeah.
just FYI, I'm gonna share the conversation that you and I had about lot supply through email. I wanted to make sure that you knew I
That's
was
fine.
gonna talk about it.
That's fine. Absolutely fine. After Tish can answer any questions. that
Yeah.
you might have. Thank you.
Good luck. Have fun.
Appreciate it.
Okay, who wants to go next? Jerry, would you?
We started with Jerry.
Okay, let me just go back to my list here. Like I said, I submitted this to Justine, so for 1.1, the availability, we do get information every month at the meetings as far as number of burials, cremations, lot sales, etc. I think as a short-term goal, I propose that, and this is a volunteer project that I'm willing to take on, is to kind of prototype or proof of concept some sort of tracking or reporting system to give context to these numbers. Historical information, kind of cumulative year to date information, sales and burials, etc., trends, and so forth. And as part of this kind of like exploring this idea, also looking at how that kind of information could be incorporated within, say, the cemetery's website, jumping over to 2.3 communications. So that's my idea for 1.1. 1.2, just updating the statistics, how many available lots at Vesper Circle, and if the idea is premium lots and location, are there other potential small areas, individual lots, etc., that might be appropriate to designate as premium? So that's one. 1.31, the scattering gardens. My understanding was, that this really wasn't an attractive option moving forward. So my comment was just to delete it, and maybe it comes up later. 132 with regards to the columbarium. It is in the concept stage. We have, there's been some needs and requirements that have been identified. We really haven't established kind of a scope or scale for this project, establishing financial viability or objectives. The basic math is that there is decent margin in it if you do it right, but we really haven't gotten to that level. Also, in some discussions, there's been some very important practical operating issues that have been identified that we need to keep in mind, including related to 3.6 handicap access. We want to comply with ADA. Tish identified, some basic space requirements at the time of the service, where we need to accommodate a large number of people seated, etc., as well as having a site that's easy access for maintenance and repairs. And then the other need is just aesthetic and use consistent with the vision and purpose of Sleepy Hollow. So to kind of address those challenges and tie them all together, a goal for 2024 is to get these needs down on paper, establish a work plan, identify landscape design support to actually lay it out and begin construction with a goal of beginning inurnments in 2025. With regards to 1.33 mausoleums, I mean, yeah, we do have 3 sites near Pope and 4 sites at the Knoll, and one's been sold with a foundation. I think moving forward, it would be important to monitor and assess kind of like how things went after the first sale and construction, and see if anything needs to be adjusted for subsequent sales. So those are my comments. And like I said, I submitted them to Justine in a PDF.
Thank you, Jerry.
I'll go ahead and I'll type these up and send them to you. And I started to say with Aaron, I had some conversations with him early on, because the first one I was concerned about, I'm not sure I completely understand. It's going to be a good discussion in January. But from my estimation, we have less than a 10-year supply of laid out plots right now. You know, and I could be totally wrong, but I went through and I'm looking in 2018, there was 19 years supply, which is only 30% of our 60-year goal. And we've had updates since then, but I don't know where we're exactly, but for plots ready to sell, it seems like we're quite a ways off from a 60-year supply. And when I asked Aaron about that, he said, absolutely, we haven't done the projected future growth or demand, and we need to be able to do that as part of an initiative to lay out lands for graves, because as he mentioned, there may be quite a bit of land available, but we don't know where the graves are going to go, and so on and so forth. But given that we're looked to have that supply, and it being very narrow right now, I think that's got to be one of the top of my list, at least, is that one. If there's not space, and it sounds like there is some space available, I'd also like to suggest that there are no cemetery services in West Concord, except for the prison cemetery, which isn't ours, and would like to suggest, if we are looking to include West Concord as potential lands for a next cemetery, or if needed. But I think the first is to do a demand and growth analysis and project what our demand is going to be for 60 years and figure out how we're going to do it. Then to echo some things I think been going around, I think we do need to, as part of that land planning, look at alternative non-traditional burial services such as green burials. In particular, I think there's opportunity for conservation burials, if they're conservation land, that could be utilized for true green burials. It might be killing 2 birds with 1 stone, as it were, to preserve the land and also create additional burial space. And I think that I agreed with everything else everybody else had said, but I do think the being clear on what our lot availability is, our space availability, and the plan for growth is important. And I think it's got to be a big part of this overall master plan.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other comments about section 1? Well, I'm grateful for everybody's contributions for section 1. I suggest in January we do section 2, and according to my checklist here, that's operations. That's the same 3 persons that did section 1. That's your
We're going to
reward.
coast the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's your reward for doing a great job. Okay. So just do that in the January meeting. We'll do this again. So if you can get your comments to Justine, over the next week or so, that'll give me some time to try to get it done in between some holiday activities with my family. And I'll make sure that we can get it back so we can circulate it.
Absolutely.
Legislative session.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good.
okay, great. Next item on our agenda.
Chair comments.
The only comment that, thank you, Justine, the chair comments, the only comment that I wanted to make was just that I thought that the veterans ceremony and the flag burial and cremation ceremony was beautiful again this year. I thought the grounds looked fantastic, so thank you, very much, Tish. But I always just find it very moving to see all of the veterans, there, and the children that take the flags, and everyone behaving with dignity and respect. So it's in these days of such discord, civil discord, disagreements, arguments, screaming and yelling, that see everybody gather together and in the united way honor the flag and honor the memory of the veterans and the living veterans. That was very, very, very nice to witness. So it's a wonderful ceremony, and I think this year there were a few more people than there have been in
Saturday.
Well, that helps.
It does help when it's on a weekend. Yeah, a lot of people work that day. It's a weekday. So, yeah, it was a good crowd.
Yeah, and there was no rain. So.
It was
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. Also key on November 11th. Yeah.
That concludes my comments. Are there any comments from the committee members? Jerry.
Thanks. I just wanted to, since we just finished November, I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention that November 3rd, on November 3rd in 1894, Mr. Albert Richardson was granted a patent for something that I'm sure Tish is very familiar with. It's called the casket lowering device. And this is an invention that really changed things for the better. If you think about the challenges of lowering a coffin into the dirt, into a hole without a burying device, it's balanced on ropes and one end could slip. And, we can chuckle about it, but when you think about last moments and being witness to things, witnessing a horrifying burial like that versus something where the casket just slowly goes into the ground with no drama, much better. So Mr. Richardson, a gentleman, a Black man in Michigan, thank you for inventing the casket lowering device.
Thank you, Jerry. Thanks. That's great.
I have to have one comment in addition to Jerry, because I agree with him. I was at a funeral in a mausoleum, interment or columbarium, and they had 4 stacked high, and they have the opposite of a lowering device to raise the body up and then slide him into the wall, and that could go terribly wrong as well, but it didn't. And but both my wife and I looked at that the first time we had seen that, and they had a nice specialized pole to push the coffin into the wall. So technology keeps us moving forward, I guess.
We'll put that on the subcommittee to-do list.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments from committee members? Public comments. Beth and Andrea, you are our public today. So any comments from either one of you?
I don't have a comment, but I am hoping that along with the questions about telephone coverage, that maybe Terry can provide us some insight, because she's probably up to date on whatever is going on in that.
She's no longer on the call.
Oh, darn. The promise is out there. My understanding is that any cell phone that is put up at the high school will not cover very much past the high school, so it wouldn't cover like the cemetery or even the town. But if that Trinitarian church steeple can be a cell phone tower, that would be our best, most hopeful and quickest solution. Because if you have gone to any of the meetings about cell phone towers, the police and the fire department are always there telling us how crucial it is that we get coverage. Their jobs are made so much harder by not having it. And if you can even go back and they'll explain exactly why that is. But they are very nervous for the celebration of the 250th to go through that without cell phone coverage in that area. I mean, we'd probably at least have temporary coverage for that, for some of the bigger events, but like we all know we need it on a regular basis. So that's just my little, let's stay on top of things and keep pushing the effort to get that done because we'll all benefit.
Thank you, Art. Okay, with that, I think it's time to move the meeting to be closed. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Roll call, Jerry?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brian? Aye. Priscilla?
Hi.
Rod? Aye. And once again, a record of unanimous votes for the motion. Thank you all and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to everyone.
Holidays.